There are moments when your heart carries memories that refuse to stay silent. Places you passed through awaken scenes you never wanted to relive, and your soul feels divided between gratitude for what God has done and pain for what you survived. Sometimes the very ground where you now stand speaking of faith is the same ground where your worst days were born. There is something deeply challenging about remaining in the geography that shaped both your wounds and your calling. You walk among reminders of joy and scars at the same time, and your spirit wonders how to hold both without breaking. There are seasons when you look back over your life and see clear evidence of God's hand, moments you could write down and remember with tears of gratitude. You remember answers, provisions, unexpected doors opening. Yet there are also years when nothing seems worth recording, when if you were honest, the story would read more like a nightmare than a testimony. Those are the years when silence feels louder than praise and questions rise faster than faith. It is easy, when God begins to move in your life, to forget that not everyone is standing in the same place. While some are celebrating, others are grieving. While some feel restored, others feel completely undone. There are people listening right now who lost everything in a single season, people who lost homes, dreams, and even those they loved most. Pain does not announce itself politely, and sometimes it arrives without explanation, leaving behind confusion that words cannot fix. In those moments, a dangerous thought often settles into the heart. It whispers that God has stepped away, that He has forgotten where you are, that your suffering is proof of His absence. This is not a new feeling. It is the cry of humanity when purpose disappears and the road ahead becomes impossible to understand. When pain outpaces clarity, the soul searches for meaning and often concludes that abandonment must be the answer. But there is a response from God that cuts through that lie with authority and tenderness. He asks a question meant to expose the impossibility of what you are believing. Can a mother forget the child she nourishes, fail to feel compassion for the life that came from her own body? Even if such a thing were possible, even if human love could falter in the most extreme way, God declares that His memory of you will never fade. He does not distance Himself from your pain. He does not misplace your name. He does not overlook your tears. He says your name is engraved in His hands. This is not a poetic exaggeration. It is a declaration of permanence. What is engraved cannot be erased by time, by seasons, or by suffering. Your walls, the limits of your life, the boundaries of your story, are constantly before Him. You are not a passing thought. You are not an overlooked detail in a crowded world. This truth is uncomfortable for some, because it confronts how deeply you are loved. A love so intense that it humbles pride and silences excuses. A love that chose closeness over distance, presence over abandonment. It is easier to be moved by fear than to be transformed by love, yet nothing is more powerful than realizing that a holy God chooses to love fragile, broken people without hesitation. Your feelings may insist otherwise. Your circumstances may argue against this truth, but your emotions do not define reality. Faith is often required precisely because reality cannot be felt before it is believed. When pain is active, remembrance becomes difficult. You remember God's goodness more easily after the storm than in the middle of it. That does not make you weak, it makes you human. Even so, there comes a moment when strength must rise from a place deeper than emotion. When you feel scattered, you are called to stand. When you see no horizon, you are invited to rise. Not because you understand, but because faith has the power to transform the very ground you are standing on. Your rising is not denial of pain, it is defiance against despair. You may see nothing ahead, fear may surround your thoughts, yet the truth remains unshaken. God has not forgotten you. Your name is still in His hands. He sees your need and knows exactly what provision looks like in this season. He hears the cry that comes from anguish, the prayer that barely forms words. When you call out from the depth of your sorrow, He listens. The greatest proof of His love was not reserved for a future miracle or a better season. It has already been given. Your hope is not built on what He might do next, but on what He has already done to secure your eternity. There will come a day when understanding replaces confusion, when tears give way to restoration, when every unanswered question finds peace in His presence. Until then, you are held, remembered, and loved beyond what you can fully comprehend. That quiet space opening inside you right now is not emptiness. It is where God is reminding you of what pain tried to erase. You may not have strength to explain your faith, but you still have breath to remain standing. And sometimes remaining is the bravest form of belief. There are moments when God does not remove the weight immediately. yet He anchors you so the weight does not destroy you. You are still here not by accident, but by intention. There are losses that words cannot repair and questions that will never receive answers in the time you want. Faith does not deny that reality. Faith holds your hand while you walk through it. There are stories you carry that would silence a room if spoken out loud, moments when all you could say was a cry from the deepest place of your soul. Those cries were not ignored. They were heard, gathered, and remembered. None of them fell to the ground unnoticed. You may measure love by outcomes, by visible change, by immediate relief, but God measures love by presence. He stayed when you wanted to disappear. He remained when your strength failed. He carried you through days you do not even remember surviving. There are nights you slept because He guarded you. There are mornings you rose because He sustained you. You are not alive by chance. You are breathing because mercy decided you were worth keeping. Even when everything feels delayed, nothing is wasted. The season that feels empty is shaping something eternal. The tears that seem pointless are forming compassion within you. The waiting that feels unbearable is building roots that storms will not uproot. What you think is stagnation is often preparation hidden from your eyes. There are people who believe faith exists only when answers come. But real faith often lives in the unanswered, in the space where you choose to trust without clarity. God is not offended by your weakness. He is close to it. He does not withdraw because you are confused. He draws nearer. You do not need to impress Him with strength. You only need to remain honest before Him. If you feel broken, know this: brokenness does not disqualify you. It positions you to receive what pride never could. God does not build His greatest works on perfection, but on surrendered hearts. He knows exactly where you are emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Nothing about you is hidden from Him, and nothing about you repels Him. The future may still look unclear, but you are not walking toward it alone. The same hands that hold your name are guiding your steps. Even when you do not feel direction, you are being led. Even when silence surrounds you, He is still working. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. There will be a day when you look back and understand what today cannot explain. Until that day, you are invited to trust the One who sees the entire story while you hold only a single page. You are remembered. You are loved. You are not forgotten. And what God has promised will not fail, even if the process feels heavy right now. And as you remain here, let your heart breathe for a moment longer. Not to search for answers, but to recognize presence. There is a subtle strength growing inside you that does not announce itself loudly. It forms quietly in moments like this, when you choose not to turn away, when you allow truth to reach places fear has occupied for too long. This strength is not built on certainty, but on trust that refuses to let go. You may still carry grief that feels too heavy to name. Some wounds do not close quickly, and some memories return without warning. God is not asking you to erase them. He is teaching you how to carry them without being crushed. Healing does not always mean forgetting. Sometimes it means learning how to live again while remembering. And He walks with you through that process patiently, gently, without rushing your pain. There are days ahead when you will feel steady, and others when you will feel fragile again. This does not mean you are moving backward. Growth is rarely a straight line. Even when you stumble, you are still moving forward. God does not measure your journey by speed, but by direction. And your direction, even now, is toward life. You may wonder how long this season will last. That question itself reveals your hope. Because only someone who believes change is possible asks how long. God sees the end from the beginning, and nothing you are enduring is outside His awareness. When the time is right, what feels locked will open, what feels silent will speak, and what feels dead will rise. Until then, you are being sustained in ways you may only recognize later. Let this truth settle deeply within you. You do not need to become someone else to be held by God. You do not need to be stronger, calmer, or more faithful than you are right now. You are already seen. You are already known. You are already loved. Even in your questions, even in your weakness, even in your waiting. That place being touched inside you may feel tender, even exposed, but it is also where restoration begins. God does not press on wounds to cause pain. He presses to bring life back where numbness settled in. What you are sensing is not pressure to perform or become something overnight. It is an invitation to rest in the truth that you are not alone in this process. You have carried responsibility for too long, trying to be strong when your soul needed permission to breathe. You learned how to survive, but now God is gently teaching you how to live again. Survival keeps you alert. faith allows you to rest. And rest does not mean the absence of battles, it means the presence of trust in the middle of them. There are prayers you stopped praying because disappointment taught you to lower expectations. God is not offended by that. He understands how pain reshapes hope. Yet even now, He is rebuilding your capacity to believe, not through force, but through patience. Slowly, quietly, He is reminding your heart that hope is not dangerous when it is placed in Him. You may still wake up with unanswered questions. You may still feel moments of heaviness without warning. But notice this, you are no longer where you were. Even listening to this, even staying, even continuing, is evidence that something inside you refused to give up. That perseverance did not come from you alone. Grace carried you here. God is not distant from your reality. He is present in your ordinary moments, in the silence between prayers, in the pauses where words fail. He is shaping a testimony that will one day bring comfort to others, not because your pain was small, but because His faithfulness was greater. Let this truth anchor you as you move forward. Your story is still being written. What feels unfinished is not forgotten. What feels delayed is not denied. God is faithful, even when the process feels slow, and He will complete what He began in you. And even after all of this, there is still room for more to unfold inside you. Faith is not something that finishes in a single moment. It keeps expanding as you keep walking. What God is doing now may feel quiet, but quiet does not mean weak. Roots grow in silence. Foundations are laid out of sight. What will one day sustain you is being formed beneath the surface. There will be moments when old thoughts try to return, telling you that nothing has really changed, that this peace will not last. When that happens, remember this moment. Remember that truth reached you when you needed it, that light entered even while shadows remained. Darkness does not disappear all at once, but it loses its authority the moment light is welcomed in. You are learning to trust again, not blindly, but honestly. And that kind of trust is strong. It has scars, but it also has depth. God is not building a shallow faith in you, one that collapses under pressure. He is forming something resilient, something that can stand when emotions fluctuate and circumstances shift. What lies ahead will not erase what lies behind, but it will redeem it. Nothing you endured will be wasted. There will be a day when your story brings healing to someone else who feels unseen, unheard, and forgotten. Your pain will become a language of compassion. Your survival will become a testimony of grace. For now, keep walking one step at a time. You do not need to rush the process. God is not in a hurry with you. He is steady, intentional, and faithful. And as long as you remain open, He will continue to lead you into peace that does not depend on everything being perfect. Let what is settling inside you now become something you carry with you beyond this moment. Not as a feeling you must protect, but as a truth that can hold you when feelings shift. Peace that comes from God is not fragile. It does not collapse when the day is hard or when the night is long. It remains steady and quiet, even when your thoughts are restless. You may still have moments when your heart tightens, when anxiety tries to take control again. Do not condemn yourself for that. Healing is not the absence of struggle. It is learning where to return when struggle appears. And now you know where to return. You return to the truth that you are seen, remembered, and held. You return to the certainty that God has not lost sight of you, not even for a moment. There is something sacred about choosing to trust again after disappointment. It takes courage to believe when experience has taught you to expect loss. God honors that courage. He meets it with gentleness, not demands. He does not push you faster than your heart can follow. He walks at your pace, step by step, restoring what fear tried to steal. As you move forward, there will be decisions to make, paths to choose, and moments where clarity still feels